So I think Beate is going to talk about her work a little bit this morning, which is really exciting for me and us all.
Well, I prepared something that is relatively short. I don't know how long it'll take, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something. And I did something which I've never done before. I took a little video of my workshop with Tony's GoPro. So I try and show that to you too. It's only 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes. It's not long. So I'm going to try and share my screen I think I needed to just sort of say what is important to me in my work in general, because every project, of course, has got maybe another meaning or another theme or another approach. But I think underlying everything I do is always that sort of these ideas of place and identity, dislocation and belonging. And I think that probably comes from personal circumstance, that I moved country, that I move across languages, I move across cultures. And there's always that sense, well, that sense of movement, or that sense of boundaries and non-boundaries. I'm interested in the spaces in between. And again, that comes back maybe to my sort of underlying sensitivities. So I'm interested in the spaces in between and behind, and shadows on the wall. Everything I make in a way has got holes in it. And I'm interested in spaces that could be defined as inside, but allowing activities of the outside to take place. And I'll show you some images of that. So that sense of movement and rhythm applies to my own movement, but I also live 5 minutes from the sea, and I see the sea every day from my window upstairs. I go down usually every day. The water and those rhythms just have to come into my work. That, you know, is unavoidable because I see it every day. And then another thing that is fundamental to my practice is language. I work, on balance, I work relatively large, although large is relative, because I think I work sort of in the 60, 70 centimeter realm, and also smaller pieces. And the idea of the smaller pieces is they could be small variables and they can move in space. The larger pieces would be fixed and the smaller pieces can move. And my materials are enamel, which is glass on metal, metal and paper. Again, right, and now I have to try and get this to move. And these are now some pieces in enamel, and they were the Arcades project. And that's just the detail to see, because usually I work quite subtly. So these are different shades of black, layered, and then the thin lines are introduced through a needle. That's another one. And they are about 60 centimeters, they're about that size. And again, showing that sort of subtle surface. So the enamel is not shiny. So these are just some sort of background pictures, images, because usually what I do is I do a lot of reading. And then from the reading, I find places which give me the locations where I can find what I'm looking for. So the arcades became very important through Walter Benjamin's arcade project. And I spent some time in Paris walking through the arcades. And this is the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele in Milan, which is just amazing, with 4 arcades meeting in the middle. And here you have, you know, all the rhythms, the spaces in between, because it's inside, but, you know, the rhythms of the roof. So again, you can see the link of the movements.
Sorry,
and
where is it?
the ornament.
Where is it?
Pardon?
Where is it?
In Milan, in Milan.
Milano.
In Milan. Milano.
Mm-hmm.
This is an arcade in Paris. They're not all posh, they're not all smart. Some of the arcades are very poor, and I almost prefer them because you have these amazing roofs and nets and lights and things like that. And then, of course, the arcades in Italy, again, that difference between almost inside, shade in those arcades, and then the bright sunlight in the squares, and then just amazing how these arches just repeat. So these were some other works that came from those images, and the rhythms, the arches, the holes, the lights, and so on. And then there are some works in paper. They are about 70 by 40. And this is a slightly different project. This was another project, but again, works in paper. But I might make that in metal. Then that's our beach down here. That's what I see every day. And I made some, I had a series running parallel, which is the sea series. And then I had a river series. That's the River Seine. But I haven't given you any images. They are on the website. I don't want to. So that's the background, and that was my enamel work. And then a couple of years ago, I asked myself the question, and it was also an exhibition I curated. I draw, but I also take a lot of photographs, and they inform my work. So what role does photography play in an applied artist's work, and how can I make that visible? Because I never actually used my photographs in my work. They informed my work, but I never showed them. It was always quite abstract. So this work is in response to that question, where I also decided that I don't always want to cover the metal in enamel, because it is glass and there's metal inside, but you wouldn't know. I'm, by the way, a ceramicist by background. I worked with one China, so that's why enamel is sort of close to my heart. And I braided back to matte. So these work. So I thought, right, I just want to work with metal, and I want to work with etching. So this is etched, and I want to make my photographs visible. So that's a piece of that. And then I just wanted metal. I just paired it right back. I don't know whether I'm going in the right direction, but anyway, that's what I decided. And I wanted to, it's really, really fine and more fragile. I think that's just scale. And now we arrive, obviously there's a lot of other work, and now we arrive at the pandemic. It was terrible. I felt really paralyzed at the beginning when it happened. And of course, I couldn't travel anymore. So I was stuck with my photography here or my reading. So I decided to go back to language and to text. And these pieces, they're quite small. Again, maybe that was part of my paralysis. So these drawings are in the center. They just referring almost to text bands, and that's copper with black patinated. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to experiment with patination
What?
With Patination, Patination, wenn man Chemikalien nimmt, um das Metall, das produziert dann verschiedene Farben.
Chemie.
Chemie, ja, das attackiert das Metall und produziert meistens schwarz oder braun. Und dann anderes grün oder blau oder. So these are my experiments, but this is, I'm already beginning. They were in Cardiff in the gallery when it was briefly open before Christmas. And what I didn't realize is that the chemicals just keep on going, and eventually just ended up a shit brown. And this was nicely orange and brown, and it's also now a shit brown. I brought them back and I'm going to sand it off again. This is sort of the pandemic work. And yeah, more of those. You can see that I'm struggling a bit, I think. And now we arrive at my current work. Still pandemic, still here, haven't been anywhere. Okay, so drawing, going back to text, Ingeborg Bachmann, drawings, the ripples I see every day, text lines. And then I started cutting in paper. And yeah, and that's as far as I got. It's still behind me. It's still paper, but that is what, maybe I would like to continue. And now I try and share my experiment with you.
So this is an experiment in a very short video for you to see my workshop. This is Tony's GoPro, and I've never used it before. So I'm going to show you, it's a little bit untidy, my kiln room. On the left is a large kiln, and this is a smaller kiln, 30 by 30. So here's where I would do the enameling. And this is the main part of my workshop. And here is my favorite piece of equipment. It's a laser, and everything I make in metal I would cut in paper first. I have done works on paper. On the wall behind. On the wall behind is a piece of cut paper. Then the door to the right is my spray booth, and this is my work desk. And view into the garden. And this is now work in progress. Pieces of, up there's a storage platform. It's just working things out in paper, test prints on A4, but they will of course be larger. And that's sort of just about it. Okay.
My video.
I'm just really interested when you were talking, because I use photographs a lot, and I think I use my Instagram account really as a way of communicating those images, but I never really think about developing them into my work. They're more like sketches or a way of quickly recording an idea because I'm focusing on something. So when you were talking about bringing your photographs into your work, I wondered what you meant by that.
I think it's the same for me or it was the same for me as it was for you. You know, there were sketches, there were a way of seeing, and I have hundreds of them, and some of them are amazing. They just like yours. And it was just that I just asked myself the question. There they are. They play such a big role in my work, but they are just on my computer. You know, how can I make them visible? I think that was probably my question. And I asked myself the question, and as I said, I curated an exhibition then, which was shown in Within, where I asked that question to some other applied artists. You know, what role does photography play in your work, and how can you make it visible? Some people already make it visible in their work. With others, it's hidden. So it is a question, and I think it's still a question which I would like to answer, because it also has to make sense, isn't it? It's not taking a photograph and then etching it or sticking it on or something like that. You know, it has to make sense in the meaning of the work. You know, so
I
yeah.
think it's interesting to show the relationship, to relate the medium to the other. Because you are concerned with many mediums, photography, metalwork. I didn't know, it is made by the printer, by the laser machine, but not by hand. Every tiny detail.
Yeah. It's the drawing. The initial drawing is done by hand, because the laser does nothing without you having created it before. And I have now my ways of working. I've been working like this for a long time now. So I've developed a way of working, and I usually, you know, as I said before, I've just got these down here. You know, I would draw these on paper and then scan it in, and then they become a file. Which can you still see me? No. Which then I can turn into files, which I can cut. But these are the drawings. You know, I just developed a way of working, and then as soon and then it comes out of it. I mean, this paper, obviously they stay like that, or I could paint into it, actually. That's maybe next step. But with the metal, when it comes back, I mean, this enamel, this email, if I get it back, it's just like getting a sheet of paper, and then I have to do the ground coating, then I have to do the layers of the enamel, scratch through, abrade it. So all the handwork starts, and the same. Oh, these are the shit brown things. I can show you a real shit brown. So this is metal.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, that sort of almost like clay or
Yeah. I mean, it's
lost,
not.
It's kind of lost the feel of metal, whereas rust would kind of give you that notion of metal again. It's interesting, isn't it? So how many layers is that, Beate? You'd be laughing. Can I just say about the hand again? So when I get a piece of metal, this is raw then. So then the handwork starts. You know, I use these tools. So my glass. I use this and sandpaper, and then it's brushed and blah blah.
and then files to do the edges, and so it's, you know, it's just that. And then with this started off in sand and vinegar, in a box, airtight. It's done, you know, vinegar mixed with the sand, for moistening, and then it's there for 3 days or 5 days, and you know, and then it comes out, and then I think I sort of sprayed another solution on top. But this is, I'm so much at the beginning with, and then I think the slight sheen is because I oiled it. Now put a slight oil on top. I don't have to do that. Well, maybe I have to, so that it doesn't go shit brown. But I don't know. I just wanted. I haven't got a piece of enamel. Oh yeah. Well, this is a small piece of enamel. Yeah. So that's steel and enamel. So round coated in black, both sides, and then several layers of enamel. Yeah. And so okay, so that's fine. But because I come from enamel, from ceramics, I love that because it's a bit like a piece of porcelain. Ist bisschen wie Porzellan, weil ich das matt schleife. Ne? Also es ist nichts Glänzendes. Ich mag nicht glänzendes Email, obwohl es so ein bisschen schon. But I wanted the metal, you know, because with this, the steel, you don't see the steel. You wouldn't know unless you are an enameler. And this is actually brass. Messing.
Yeah.
And so that is what I wanted. I wanted to be able to feel the metal.
To feel the metal.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's I've got one that is slightly shiny. That's enamel again. Email. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give up on enamel because it's quite nice. Chris is shaking your head because I sometimes think maybe my enamel was better than my metal. But then I'm only at the beginning with my metal.
I love the enamel work. I mean, it's kind of in vogue again, isn't it? In like interiors, people are working with it quite a lot. People are buying enamel mugs again. You know, there's a huge variety. I think, and as a surface, I think it has a particular quality, doesn't it?
It's funny.
I love it.
I know it from my youth. When I was 15 or 16, I went to a group at the church, and there we had some handcraft, and also we had enamel, kind of enamel producing, and but after I never was touched with that, and interesting.
Yeah, you can make. I mean, I like it matte. Sorry, I just have to take things. I've only got sort of small things hanging up with. You know, you can. I don't know whether you can see this. You can have it really matte.
And the texture.
Like a sugar. Yeah, and the texture. Yeah, I'm glad you can see that. Or this, you know, which, you know, you can use these diamond pads. I mean, Chris would know all the tools because it's essentially glass, but I like it matte. Not that shiny. And I mean, I'm not necessarily going to give up enamel, but you know, I mean, they could be in combination.
Yeah, why would you give up? You're only starting. Well, how long have you been working with enamel for?
2005.
Right.
Yeah. So you're wiping the shiny surface off with sandpaper? You're taking the shiny surface off with your sandpaper?
With the
It's diamond path.
Ah, with diamonds. Oh, with girls' best friends.
Remember,
Yeah.
I had some when I came to you. The little that had a yellow and a red and a black. Remember?
I don't have any
Oh yeah.
diamonds.
Yeah. But I like the metal too. I mean, I like both, and I think I just have to figure out how they could be in relationship to each other. I mean, this is, I'm just taking, this is one of the metal, this is nickel silver, and I'm just taking the patination off again. But you know, the silver could work very well with an enamel piece, a white enamel piece, you know, if they're the same size. So it could be in relation to each other. It's a lot one could do. So yeah, I'm not quite ready to not do just metal. But you have to see.
Yeah. How do you, with your paper pieces, how do you feel that they're, well, I don't know what my question is really, but do you see them as finished as your, I mean, when the metal is a much more durable material as a finished piece? I mean, what is your relationship with the paper and the metal? I'm quite, because I thought that was what I'm working with at the moment. You know, glass is so strong in some ways, fragile in others, but paper has its own, you know, you can crease it so easily, or, you know, spill something on it, you can't wipe it off. All those things I'm working with at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, again, tear it. I'm just interested in.
Yeah, it is an interesting question, and I think that it's almost the same question as the photography, because I see myself very much as a maker or an applied artist, and therefore I want the material. And the paper always, or most of the time, is actually just a precursor to the metal, just a maquette, just a tryout.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, that piece there, or the pieces are hanging up, you know, when you came in the solar room, they're just as nice in paper. Much cheaper, less hassle. Nothing to do, nothing to file. And so again, yeah, you know, why don't I also work in paper parallel? And maybe paint on it, you know, or maybe make marks. I mean, not the same thing, but you know, it could have a drawing on it and cuts. And
I think you like the metal very much, and it's something exciting for you. The metal, the material, the metal.
I love it. Yeah.
And it looks very high grade. Also, the paperwork look high grade, but the material, the materiality is another kind of high gradity or something high grade, and I think that's the point, that you like so much the material.
Yeah.
It must be.
Yeah. I like the material. I think that I'm, you know, the abrading to make a large piece matte would take days, days and days and days. And I'm really happy. I listen to the radio, just grind away, because you can reveal things, and it's nice. And that's what I love. I love nothing more than being up to my armpits in mud or enamel, or, you know, I quite like being you know, really physical.
Yeah, it's a kind of jewelry. For my opinion, it's a kind of jewelry.
Small pieces.
Jewelry, um, not so small, but bigger, but a kind of
Yeah, there's an intimacy, isn't there? And
Yeah.
intimacy. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, I think the fact that you're working with light as well and surface, you know, there are certainly parallels with some of the work that I do as well. Yeah, and
Yeah. So,
movement, you know, so there are a lot. The way I
yeah.
think it'd be interesting to share what I'm doing. You know, it's a nice way to introduce. It doesn't, you know, it's lovely that you're in your space to do that as well. Okay, shall we end for today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to see you.
Yes. See you soon. I'm going to
Okay,
email
Thank you very
you
much.
when there is-
Yeah. So we say goodbye all.
Yes.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
See you next
Nice to see
week.
you.
I write the statement.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.